Hello Africammers, welcome to the Africam show. I'm always delighted to spend this time with you, and this afternoon we're starting off our 45 minutes together at Tau. We seem to be a little bit stuck, but I don't mind at all because we have so many wonderful elephants to spend time with, and you know how I do love elephants. If this is the first time that you're joining us, welcome not only to the show but to our lovely Africam community. Nice. We've headed over to Aldonio just to give the Tau camera a little bit of TLC. This is also perfect because we still have Ellies. But like I was saying, a big welcome to those that are new viewers. This is 45 minutes for us to go through our different cameras, which are obviously live. And you get to ask any questions that you like. Oftentimes when you're watching the cameras, I remember seeing, before I got into wildlife and before I became a guide, I would watch these nature documentaries and watch nature programs, and I'd have so many questions. And now we kind of get to do the same thing. You get to watch whatever you like to on our channel, on our website, and then for this 45 minutes you can ask those burning questions. You can also send through some comments, tell me how you're enjoying the show this afternoon. All the regulars know how I love to know that. We've got Zygote that's come through. It says, hi Trishala. Thank you, Zygote. Namaste to you too. Kauru, you say hi Trishala. Hi Kauru. Bridget McKinney, you also say hello. Hello everybody. Now while we're watching this big bull doing something really cool, you can see that the waterhole has dried up significantly, but that's not stopping this bull. Instead, he's getting his trunk, and especially that very dexterous end that's got those two finger-like protrusions, he's getting it right over the spout that feeds water into this waterhole. So he's making sure that he doesn't have to get any of those muddy kind of areas, doesn't have to let the water sit in that sand and become all full of sediment. Instead, he had his end of his trunk right over that spout so he can get it cleanest. And now he's walked away, and we have walked back over to Tau. Now what we were looking at Aldonio, up in Kenya in East Africa, what we were looking at was a really big elephant bull on his own. But now at Tau, we're watching a breeding herd. We can see they're numerous. The breeding herds are the ones that stick together. They're led by a matriarch, and it's made up of females and their offspring. But I can also see some bulls, especially at the back on the left there. They kind of tower over everybody else. And I see very tiny babies also. Oh, this is an elephant feast for the eyes and a feast for the elephants. There's so much greenery still left, but they're most interested in the mud and the water here at Tau. Oh, I always get a little bit nervous when I see young calves at the edge. As you can see, when the Tau waterhole is very full, those edges, it's very shallow. So the trunks can dip into the water very easily. But now we're moving out of the wet season, so there's less rainfall, and we're slowly moving into the dry season. And you can see, even when we were up at Aldonio, that waterhole was looking a little bit drier, well, significantly drier. And here at Tau, you can see the water levels have reduced as well. And that leaves that significant ledge there. That little ones always get nervous when they get close, because they can so easily slide in. And it has happened before here at Tau. But mums are always close by, mums, aunts, grandmothers, to help the little calves along. Amber Co, you say happy Tuesday all. Thank you to all that make these shows possible, and you look forward to them every week. Oh, that makes me feel happy. And you're bringing smiles and coffee. Nice. I've also got smiles. I've always got smiles when I get to do these shows with all of you. And instead of coffee, I've got some green tea. Yes, I actually enjoy green tea. I know. But it's true. April Owl, you say good morning everyone from a rainy Connecticut with your hot berry muffin. Can't wait for the adventures to begin. That sounds delightful too. Now, last time that I spoke to all of you, I was in Durban, which is a city on the east coast of South Africa. It's actually my birth city. And it was really, really hot and humid, quite similar to what it was like the week previously when I was up in the low veld. Around South Africa, there's significant differences in the type of heat that you feel. Like here at Madikwe, Game Reserve Tower is located, and that's where what we're watching right now. Their heat is not so humid. In the low veld, I feel it can be quite humid, but in Durban, the humidity is off the charts. But luckily, I am back now in Cape Town, where humidity is not really a thing, because too much heat is not really a thing. But I do appreciate the cooler temperatures. And I'm sure that these elephants will appreciate the cooler temperatures as we move into the dry season. So this is what I'm talking about. See how they've really got to stretch their trunks down to reach the water. Now there are easier access points, like down here, but those easier access points are often taken up by those who want to mud bathe. And generally the water that you're using to mud bathe in is not the cleanest, full of sediment. So they want to drink at a different spot. That's why we're seeing kind of like two groups forming. Andy, you say good afternoon. All the A names are here. Yes, they are. Amberco, April, Al, and Andy. Everyone is here. Nice to see you, Andy. Thank you for joining. And it's Bob from Kalamazoo. I'm not sure, Bob, that I can actually say Bob from Kalamazoo. No, doesn't feel right. You have to do it with enthusiasm. Bob from Kalamazoo says Happy Tuesday, and hello Trishala. Hello Bob. Thank you for joining us. Linda Duncan, you say hi indeed. And Mr. H UAE 87. Ooh, you know, when I see your name pop up, I think, what are you going to be enjoying the show with today? Let's see what's on the menu. You say, today I have cake and coffee for snacks. Very nice. I like that we have become your little tea or coffee break. Very, very nice. Now, I was recently in the bush, and I didn't get to spend as much time with my predatory friends as I would like to, hyenas, leopards, lions, but I did spend a lot of time with elephants, and that was really nice. But the other critter that I was really hoping to see were dung beetles, and I was surprised I didn't see very many of them. But I am going back to the bush next week, so hopefully I'll see some then. But luckily for all of you, we do have some dung beetles moving about at Naledi Dam. So let's see if we can head over and have a look at those busy beetles. I know, so much choice. These elephants are also looking very busy. Oh, look at them go! My goodness, I do love a dung beetle. And now the dung beetle kind of looks like it was rolling its ball, like a game, to clear up the pixelation that we have there. We do apologize for it. Oh, hopefully we'll be able to get a better view of the dung beetles, maybe a little later on. But I'm glad we can look at them at least a little bit. They're such important parts of the ecosystem. Really incredibly important. If you ever have the opportunity to go to the bush and to watch a pile of dung, which I suppose is on everybody's wish list when they want to come to Africa, what do you want to do? I need to stare at a pile of dung. Yes, you absolutely do. Make sure it is dung and not scat that you're staring at. Dung is created by herbivores, like the elephants that we have. There we go, like the elephants at Tau. They create dung. Scat is produced by carnivores. You don't really want to spend too much time too close to scat, and trust me, you won't be able to. Some of the smells can be very pungent. Anyway, we'll get back to chatting about dung beetles and the way they clean up the environment if we head over a little bit later. For now, we just watched the ultimate emptying of bowels from the elephants here. So very clearly you can see that this is not just a breeding herd. There's also quite a few males here. There's the big bull that's in front of us, like straight in front of the camera, and then there's a smaller bull on the right there as well. And it's very obvious that they are males. So actually I was going to wait to talk about the dung beetles, but at the same time, a dung beetle's life and an elephant's life are so closely intertwined. Oh, hang on. There's a bundle of cuteness happening here. I love it when elephants get down into the mud and rub their bodies. Because apart from the fact that it's really really cute to watch them do this, it is very, very entertaining when they try to get up, because it's slippery and they have really big bodies, and I wouldn't really consider it flexible. So it's really funny. You can see the one that's on the ground on the right is trying to fling its weight upwards to help it along. Oh, and it's got a friend trying to push it as well. I think you need to maybe bring a mum to help you. Yes. Or it might just be using the elephant on the ground to scratch its trunk. There are many uses for elephant friends. Youngsters will scratch themselves on each other. They'll try to play mount each other. There we go. Managed to get up successfully. Oh, and we have another one down. Oh, so cute. It's also really cute. The way they bend their knees to get down. The back view makes it look particularly human. I'm not sure how to feel about. Casper's third ghost has joined us. You say you're late, but good Tuesday all from Milwaukee. Hot coffee break. Yes, that's what we like to hear. Kauru, you're busy laughing at the dung beetles. You say they're cool and cute. They really are. They're also one of my favorite things to paint. It might be a strange thing to paint, but I really enjoy painting round things. Just because I like the difference in like the shading of a round object. And dung beetles are great for that because they're most of the time rolling dung. They are really cool. Now, what I was saying is that them and elephants, they have a close relationship that really only the dung beetles know about. Elephants, they don't really care about that relationship. They just do their thing, create their piles of dung, and then the dung beetles come along. And the dung is such an important part of a dung beetle's life. Well, actually, maybe we should start with elephant dung. Elephant dung is crazy. For one, they have quite an inefficient digestive system. They're hindgut fermenters, so the alternative to being a hindgut fermenter for a herbivore is to be a ruminant, and that's when you have that four-chambered stomach. Now, being a ruminant means because you're chewing cud and you have 4 different chambers to go through, your digestion can be really efficient. They can squeeze a lot out of a little. Now, hindgut fermenters, their digestion is quite inefficient. But, oh, how are those growls? There was a young bull coming through on the left there, and there was a mum that growled at him and kind of stopped him right in his tracks there. She's also moved off. Now, hindgut fermenters, like I said, they have quite inefficient guts, but The advantage of that is that they can eat quickly and move quickly, whereas a ruminant needs to, once its stomach's full, its stomach's full. It's got to start now chewing cud, and the process takes longer. But elephants, hindgut fermenters, they're pooping a lot. And there can be as many as 2,000 seeds in their dung, in a single pile of dung, up to 2,000. That's crazy. And when you think about all the trees that they're eating, and even funguses, when they push out their spores, those spores land on leaves. So that dung pile becomes like a steaming pot of potential life. Mushrooms pop out of it, seeds germinate from it. In fact, it retains quite a bit of nutrition as well. Now, because it's not super fine and overly processed in the way that ruminants' dung is, it makes perfect dung beetle, so like a dung beetle heaven, really. Maybe we can try heading back over to the dung beetles in a little bit, and I can show you some really cool parts of their anatomy that help them get on making these balls. But first, let's say hi to Valerie Explore. Oh yay, we're over back to my lady dam. Can't see the dung beetle, but you can definitely see the movement. Valerie Explore. Oh, you have a question about Tao. Hi Valerie. We'll get to your question when we head back to Tao. How's that? This dung beetle cam is not. Oh, there we go. There we go. Pushing out a nice ball there. So there's a number of ways that dung beetles use the dung balls that they create. There's different categories of dung beetles, and some of them will remain in and live in the pile of dung, like just underneath it. And if you've ever kicked over a dung ball or anything like that, then you'd be able to see them. And then there's other ones that will tunnel or kind of live further underneath the ground. And ultimately, what the dung is used for is a food supply. So the adults might or do eat the dung, but really priority is for the dung to be used as food for the larva. So when you see lots of dung beetles around, you can safely assume that they're going to have lots of larvae that they need to feed as well. And you can tell that a pile of dung is being worked because it ends up looking like this. And if you've ever seen a pile of, or you've seen elephant dung as it comes out, they're like balls. And they're not open like this. It's the dung beetles that open them out. Now, the type of beetle that we're looking at here, these are called telecopterids. They're the ones that roll dung into tight balls. So the other two that we spoke about, the endocopterids and the paracopterids, those are ones that live in the dung pile and live underneath the dung pile, but they don't roll balls. So it's the telecopterids that roll balls and roll them away from the dung pile, only for them to be kind of buried and eaten elsewhere. Because also remember that for a dung beetle, or for a collection of dung beetles, the dung pile is where the most fierce competition is happening. Did you see that one at the top there just rolling uncontrollably out of our shot? There we go. I always feel for them. There, calibrating. I always feel for them when they have to move their dung ball through some kind of change in the topography of the ground. Even just a slight little dip, always feel bad for them. It feels a little bit like if you play golf and you are on the green and there's a slope on the green, and you've got to try and navigate that because the slope can change the direction of the ball. And it's the same thing that dung beetles have to do when there's changes in the shape of the surface. And this one, shame, it's struggling. Now they try their best to move in a straight line, because if they can move in a straight line away from the dung pile, or if they can move in a straight line and keep going in a straight line, they can be sure that they're getting away from the dung pile. If they were twisting and turning in terms of navigation, they couldn't be absolutely sure that they were moving away from the dung pile. So they'll often use celestial objects, because if they keep rolling with a celestial object in front of them, whether it's the sun or the moon or a particular star, then they must be moving away from the dung pile. Unfortunately, this little dip in the ground here is causing a lot of problems for this one, and he is coming back to the dung pile. Oh, wrong direction, buddy. And you would also see that it's pushing with its back legs. Now the other one there is still busy. Now there is a fourth category of dung beetles, and those are the ones that steal the dung balls of the telecoprids. They wait for them to do the hard work, and then they come along and eat them. Steal and eat for them to go ahead. Oh, that kind of looked like an Indian miner. I only saw its feet though, but something about it said Indian miner. So we have those four categories: the ones that live in the dung, the ones that tunnel underneath the dung, the ones that roll the balls, and the ones that steal the balls. Kauru, you wanted to know, do dung beetles only eat dung, or do they like other things besides dung? They primarily eat dung. Now, a good way to think about this, or a good connection to make here, is that we see dung beetles during the wet season. In the dry season, you hardly see dung beetles. Now, in the wet season, dung is easier to break down. If you've had experience with elephant dung, then you'd know that the ones that during the dry season, they can be they can be dry. The dung balls can be dry. The wet season, it's full of juicy leaves and a lot of water. So it's nice and easy to break up and easy to consume. And that happens to be when we see dung beetles. It happens to be when they reproduce as well. So primarily they're eating dung, but there are quite a few different types of dung beetles, like fair amount. And they're ones that'll eat basically the juices of the dung. So they kind of like are chewing is the wrong word, but they're trying to get the juice from the dung. So if they were here in the dry season, they're not going to get much juice from the dung. Dung juices, yes, there's those dung beetles that will even eat the dung of carnivores. And then they would go after other things as well, decaying fruits, leaves. I have read of some dung beetles even chomping down on mushrooms every now and then. Everything that I've mentioned, and you'll even get those that like a bit of carrion. Now, everything that I've mentioned has, we've got a little spur fowl. Those are probably the nicest spurs we've ever seen there. It's the light coming through. Ah, buffalo weavers. I thought you were Indian miners. All those things that I mentioned were things that are associated with decay, with if you can visualize it, things breaking down and getting juicy. Yeah, because dung beetles, they want that juice. Hello, no name. You say, hell yeah, I love the dung beetles. You go, funky little fellas. I love that. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. I'm so glad that you all are enjoying the dung beetles so much. It makes me so happy. But we're back over now to Tembe. We didn't come to visit Tembe earlier. Nice that we've got some elephants and some impala. And I was going on and on about dung beetles. There were a couple questions and comments that I missed. No name that called the dung beetles funky, you little fellas. I love it. You say, good afternoon from Germany. Your first time joining, but you made sure to rush home from work to catch it. Ah, that makes us all very happy that you're giving yourself the space and time to enjoy a little slice of nature in your day. That's how it starts, and I tell you, it becomes an addiction. It really does. Now, Valerie Explore, sorry, I said hello to you earlier, and then I didn't answer your question because we were so into the dung beetles, but here we go. You say, good morning. How is the water situation in Tao right now, and do the elephants ever get stuck in the mud and need help? The water situation looks all right at Tao for now. It's definitely getting, the water level is definitely getting lower, and that means a lot more mud, and the mud is the thing that's going to, make elephants get stuck. But very rarely do you get adults getting stuck. Little ones, yeah, you will see them get stuck, and but the thing with little ones is they also panic very easily, and little calves are never without the rest of the herd. And the rest of the herd, there's aunts, there's mums, there's grandmothers, there's lots of relatives to help out. And there has been, especially, we have seen on the Tau camera a calf getting stuck, and Kelly, who we did the Wild Moments show with on Thursday, Kelly used to work in Madikwe Game Reserve and has taken guests around Tau previously, and she was telling us quite a while ago, she was telling us that she's witnessed calves falling in, and then the panic that ensues, but everyone gets out just fine. Even though it's the elephant's weight that kind of work against them in the mud, because as soon as they put their weight on the slippery mud, they just kind of slip. Imagine a banana peel situation. But at the same time, it's the weight that helps them get out, because if they can swing their body sufficiently, then they can get out with some ease, but it's not exactly graceful, I should say. In fact, this time of year is the time when you're most likely to see that kind of thing happening. So maybe I was going to say maybe we'll be lucky and see it, but at the same time we don't want to wish getting stuck on any elephant. But that was an excellent question, Valerie, and one that we often talk about at this time of year. Amber Co, you wanted to know how large is the dung ball that's created, and how large is the beetle that's creating it. Ooh, I wish I had the camera on today, but Amber Co, I know that you join us for Thursdays as well for Wild Moments, so I'll show you a picture and a comparable size thing as well for the dung beetle. For the dung ball, I've seen balls that are the size of golf balls, but I've also seen tennis ball size. So that's quite impressive. The dung beetle itself, trying to think about what I could compare it to. Maybe just smaller than like a car remote. Hoping that car remotes haven't changed their standard size. Definitely the size of about my car remote. So yeah, hopefully that helps you out, Amiko. Oh, thank you, Karu. Yes, we saw there were Red Bull Buffalo Weavers. I thought they were Indian miners, and I thought it'd be super fancy, be able to just identify the bird from its feet. Don't do that when you're trying to identify birds. Quite clearly it doesn't work. Now this is quite a peaceful situation we have here at Tembe. Everyone's got their heads down, enjoying the nice grass. You can tell that it's a peaceful situation when it comes to impalas because almost all of them have their heads down. Now generally, if there isn't a threat around, but they're still kind of on alert, when some of them put their heads down, others are putting their heads up. So there's always somebody on the watch. But here you can see that they're super, super relaxed because almost everyone has their head down at the same time. Now their vision allows them to be able to put their head down but still be pretty aware of what's going on around them. Now, this might sound strange. I'm not sure there's a better way to explain it right now, but herbivores, when they pop their heads down to eat, unlike us, where naturally if you're putting your head down to eat, you're looking down, herbivores don't really do that. They kind of keep their eyes looking towards the horizon. You know, so they're not always going to be able to see the horizon, but they're looking at that flatness. And that goes for pretty much most of the herbivores. And the particular thing that I read about was in zebras. Back to Tao now and have a look at a really nice herd of zebras that have come down. And then Valerie, maybe we'll also be able to see what I meant with the water levels. Oh, the zebra was calling. Well, no wonder, there's a big crocodile with its mouth open there. Yeah, might also be shouting a little bit. Valerie Explore, you say thanks so much for the reply, and yes, let's hope we don't see elephants getting stuck. Absolutely, let's not hope for it, but I can tell you that this time of the year is when you're going to see it most often. Well, no, maybe not right now, but in a few weeks, things start to get muddier. You might see it on the camera, especially here at Tao. It's just because the edges of the waterhole can become so high. So like these zebras, as they're tipping their heads down, their eyes are kind of moving, or they're not moving their eyes down in the same way we are. So that means they can have a good view of what's going on around them, and they're not kind of having blinkers on by staring down at their food. And this is also very helpful when they're drinking. But it still is going to diminish their field of view significantly if you put your head down at any time, because you're blocking out this whole kind of bottom part of your vision. No, don't walk towards the crocodile. Yes, well done. Now I wonder, doesn't look like there's any water in that little spot. You all look very interested in that spot. It does look very mineral rich there. You could be chewing on the soil to kind of supplement their diet with those minerals, called geophagia. This is a really lovely herd. They look in fantastic condition. There's so many as well. Oh, I wonder if that played with your eyes there when the one zebra was standing still and another walked right past it like that. That's such a beautiful effect. And you can really see why they called it dazzle of zebras when they're all together like this. I'd love to see what they're doing in there. Unfortunately, it'll remain a mystery until I go back to Tao and see for myself. This group is also quite reactive. We heard a few of the yip 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 yips. And there's also a little bit of shoving. Zebras can be really entertaining, and they can also be very, I don't like to use the word vicious, but they can be very intense in their fighting. Bridget McKinney, you'd like to know if I've heard of the Quagga zebra. Yes, I have. I know that there's a breeding program that is trying to rebreed the quagga, but they can't do that. Sorry, can we just have a look here at the bird on the right? It's very big. Almost felt Cory bustardy to me, but it looks a bit short. Now it's in the left. It does look like a Cory bustard. Zebras are kind of moving, looking at it now, just on the very left of the screen, tipping its head down. So for those of you who don't know what a quagga is an extinct, well, I should say recently extinct animal, and it was basically well, I suppose technically we always think of it as a separate species, but it was a subspecies of the plain zebra. So it was a subspecies of the zebra that we're looking at right here. Just want to help out the zoomie. There it is, right in the center of the screen now. The bird I want to look at. And so yes, I have heard about the breeding program, Bridget. And the breeding program is, oh yes, it is a Cory bustard. Sorry, I just can't get the quagga thing out because I'm so interested in the Cory bustard. Hello! Oh, it's so nice to see you. Isn't it beautiful? Now, the place where I've seen the most Cory bustards out of my travels around South Africa, it's actually probably been Madikwe Game Reserve. The first time I saw a Cory bustard was in Swalu, but I only saw one. At Madikwe, I saw quite a few. And this is the heaviest flying bird in Africa. Males are very large, about 11 to 12 kgs. Females are significantly smaller, about half of that. Kind of looks short here, but it's actually very tall. But the bottom of his legs has been cut off. When you see them in person, you realize just how tall they are. And you know, this is coming from somebody who's not very tall herself. And the Cory bustard, sorry, it's not. Sometimes you get a slip of the tongue, okay, when you have to say this bird's name. The Cory bustard is frighteningly close to my own height. Can be a little embarrassing. But just to finish off with your question there, Bridget McKinney, yes, I have. I know about the quagga. I know about, so there's the quagga, which is the subspecies of the plain zebra, which kind of went extinct not that long ago, like maybe late 19th century. And there have been quite a few quagga breeding programs. But because they can't actually, the actual quagga cannot be remade, but because it was a subspecies of the plain zebra, there can be certain genes. It's the same as breeding certain breeds of dogs. So you breed out certain characteristics, and those characteristics that are very quagga-like, they select for those characteristics. So ultimately what you'll get in those breeding programs are a quagga looking plain zebra, if that makes sense. It is very interesting though. It's really interesting the way that that the whole thing is happening. It's basically selective breeding because at the same time, because it is a subspecies of the plain zebra, the genes that they share a lot of genes, the quagga and the plain zebra. They share a lot of genes. So the genes that existed in the quagga still exist in the plain zebra, but there are some differences as well. So it's all about selectively breeding so that we end up with a quagga-looking plain zebra, which would probably be pretty close genetically to the actual quagga. I wish you could see me when I was talking to you about this, because my hands were going. I talk a lot with my hands, but you can't see it. That's okay. Andy, you said that it kind of looked like the Mara at Tal earlier because there were so many zebras a few minutes ago. And they were excellent looking zebras at that. But then old Cory Bustard here got my attention. Alison, you say I do a splendid zebra impersonation. You should see it in person. You only heard my interpretation. But you know, I've got a little bit of a performer in me, so I enjoy. Maybe I've said too much. I've said too much, everyone. I've said too much. But the yip 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 yip, very very zebra-y. Hello, no name again. You say you don't suppose I know what kind of crocodile this is. You've been thinking the ones you've been seeing on the cams look kind of small. These are Nile crocodiles. So we get quite a great variety of crocodiles in Africa, would you believe? But the ones that we're watching here, that we see at the various pans, those are Nile crocodiles. And Nile crocodiles can get really big, but we must also remember that it's very difficult to perceive size on the cameras, because essentially we're looking at the camera's interpretation of a 3D image. So it becomes very difficult. For example, the log just behind this crocodile, how far is it from the crocodile? Things like that. So it becomes difficult to judge distance, and that makes it difficult to judge size. But for this zebra, it should be very easy to judge the fact that it is way too close to this crocodile. You can just see its snout moving in and out every now and then. Now there may be exceptional specimens of crocodile, of Nile crocodile that is, that are, you know, weigh a ton and can be 6 meters long. I think the record is even longer than that, but that's not the usual. The majority of Nile crocodiles are pretty much smaller than that significantly. Oh, I've just been reminded to remind all of you. Yay! I've been looking at this, or looking forward to this, because I just keep rambling and we have 1 minute left. But next week, or well, not next week, this week on Thursday, which is the 7th of March, this Thursday coming up, you know, that's the day that we do Wild Moments, and we have sometimes, I host, and sometimes we have Taylor, sometimes we have Ali. I have lots of different partners that come on and we talk about really cool clips and we talk about behaviors. That's Wild Moments, and it happens at the same time as this show, but just on Thursday. And on this Thursday coming up, it's super exciting because we have Mike Fitz joining me. Now, Mike Fitz is a naturalist for Explore, and it'll be really, really interesting, I think, because what I love is when you have people who have specialities, different types of specialities. Like for me, my wildlife speciality is African wildlife, and for Mike Fitz, his speciality is going to be North American wildlife, maybe even South American wildlife, and it's really awesome to be able to have those conversations and learn about the commonalities and the differences across the world when it comes to wildlife. What do the crocodile or what do the alligators do in North America? Is it close to what the crocodiles do here? I love that kind of thing because so many animals have so much in common. So much. I mean, pretty much everything that exists on land has their body plan in common, just moved and, smashed in different ways, added in different ways, reduced in different ways. So I love that. I love learning the baseline stuff, and we can do that best by making comparisons. So on Thursday, Mike Fitz will join us for Wild Moments, and I do hope that all of you will too. I'm really looking forward to it, I can tell you that much. Anyway, I have probably talked your head off. I hope that you'll enjoy all the cams. Maybe you're going to bed and you're doing a big yawn like this croc. Whatever it is, enjoy your time wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your wonderful questions and your comments. And I'll see you on Thursday. Goodbye for now.